They found the first set of teeth inside the light bulb. Not near it, not scattered on the floor, sealed inside the glass, rattling softly when the hallway flickered, as if something inside was trying to chew its way out. Mara shouldn't have returned to Hollow Ridge, not after the disappearance of her brother, not after the police declared the case unrecoverable, and certainly not after the townsfolk told her the house eats memories. But grief makes strange companions of fools and the desperate, and Mara had always been both. The house at the edge of the ridge waited for her the way a spider waits for something warm to stumble onto its web. Its windows glimmered faintly, as if lit from inside by a dying, twitching glow. She stepped in. Inside, everything hummed. Faintly, almost like whispering behind a wall. Mara froze when she saw the light bulb in the hall, cloudy, filled with a strange dark mist. When the switch clicked on, the bulb rattled, and the shadowy mist inside took shape. Teeth. Human. Hundreds. Chattering silently. She cut the power and backed away, breath frostwhite in the sudden cold. That was when she heard her brother's voice. Mara, the walls are listening. She spun around. Empty hallway. But the whisper sounded wet, echoing not from air, but from plaster. As she pushed deeper inside, photos began to materialize on the walls. Photos she remembered taking, birthdays, summer lakes, failed attempts at baking. But the faces in them changed every time she blinked. Smiles fading. Eyes turning toward her. Mouth stretching open in warning. Her brother's image was in every one now, although he had not been in most of the real photos. He stared out, jaw unhinged, whispering the same phrase. When it whispers, don't answer. She kept walking. Because she recognized the living room carpet, dark red, frayed on the edges. Except now, as she stepped onto it, the fabric pulsed, as if something underneath was breathing. Slowly. Hungry. Mara found her brother in the basement. Alive. Sitting in the corner, knees to chest, whispering rhythmically to the wall. He looked up when she whispered his name. That was her mistake. Her brother's expression changed, a mix of relief and horror. You heard it, he said, voice cracking. You answered. It knows you now. The wall behind him bulged, plaster stretching like skin over a body pressing forward from within. An outline of a face formed. Not human. Not fully. Mara, it whispered, perfectly mimicking her mother's voice. Come home. Her brother grabbed her hand. We have to run. This house, it's alive. And it doesn't feed on bodies. He pointed upward. It feeds on remembrance. When you remember someone in this house, you give it their shape. Mara froze. Then how are you here? She whispered. Her brother looked confused. What do you mean? You came because you remembered me. She felt cold spread through her spine. I didn't remember you, she whispered. I came because I dreamed of you. But in the dream, you were begging me to come. His face drained of color. That wasn't me. The house groaned. Every wall bulged outward, filling with figures, faces forming from plaster, eyes twitching beneath wallpaper, jaws pushing against paint. Her brother backed away, whispering. Mara, what did you dream exactly? She swallowed. You told me to come save you. You said you were trapped and alone. He stared at her for a long, terrible second. And then he whispered. Mara. I never said alone. The lights went out. The rattling teeth in the hallway erupted into frantic chattering. And from behind Mara, something exhaled, a warm, damp breath against her ear. A voice that was not her brother's whispered. Thank you for bringing him back to me. When the rescue team entered the house 3 days later, they found only one person. Mara. Alive. Curled in the corner of the basement, knees to chest, whispering rhythmically to the wall. Just like her brother. They didn't know the house had two voices now. One whispering to the walls. And one whispering to the next person who dreams. Second story. At 2:13 a.m., every night without fail, the baby monitor in room 6 turns on by itself. There is no baby in room 6. There hasn't been for 17 years. And yet, the monitor still broadcasts the sound of a child breathing, followed by a woman whispering. Don't let him out. Rick took the night shift job at Newton House Orphanage because he needed quiet, steady work and a place nobody asked questions. The building was old, older than the record suggested, and its layout made little sense. 11 rooms. Long hallways. Too many corners. The director, Mrs. Weller, had one rule. Never open the 12th door. Rick laughed at first. The orphanage only had 11 rooms. He counted. Twice. Mrs. Weller simply smiled too gently. You'll see it only if it wants to be seen. At 1:58 a.m., the baby monitor in room 6 started hissing. A soft static, then. Breathing. Slow, steady. Human. Small. Rick froze. The room had been empty for years after the incident. Mrs. Weller refused to talk about it. He headed toward the hallway. Halfway there, room 6's door creaked open by itself, light spilling out like a pale tongue. A whisper floated down the hall. Don't let him out. Rick spun around, no one there. Inside room 6, the crib was untouched, except for the tiny handprint on the bars. Fresh. Wet. Like a child had just been there. On the third night, Rick found the extra hallway. It branched off between room 10 and 11, but only when the lights flickered. Black wood. No dust. No air. At the end of the hallway was a door. Old. Gray. Hinges swollen like bruises. Painted on the front in faded red letters. 12. Rick reached for the handle. And the baby monitor screamed. A child's shriek. A woman's sob. Then one furious voice. Do not open that door. He backed away, heart pounding. When he blinked, the hallway was gone. Mrs. Weller called him into her office the next morning. You've seen it, haven't you? Her voice was tired. She explained. 17 years ago, a woman named Amira appeared outside the orphanage, soaked, shaking, begging them to take her newborn son. She kept screaming someone was coming for him. When she died 2 days later, the child went to room 6. But the child cried only at 2:13 a.m. At 2:14, he laughed. Not like a baby. Something ancient. The staff tried moving him, but at 2:13 the crying still came from room 6. One dawn, the child vanished. And in his place appeared the 12th door. Mrs. Weller shook as she said. Something is inside it, and it wants a host. That night, the 12th door was already open. Just a crack. Rick rushed to shut it, something pushed back. Softly. Like a small hand from the other side. A voice whispered. Rick. Mama said not to let me out. But Mama's gone now. He stumbled away. Then a woman's voice behind him. Don't listen to him. He turned to see Amira, dead for years, standing in the hall, drenched as before. Keep it locked, she whispered. He isn't my son anymore. Rick blinked, she vanished. The door burst fully open. A child stepped out. But he had no face, only shifting, melting features. He spoke without a mouth. You remembered me, that means I can take your shape. His skin stretched. Twisted. Cracked. Until he looked exactly like Rick. 2 identical men now stood in the hallway. The copy smiled. Now the house will believe you belong inside the door. Rick ran. The copy chased him, same footsteps, same breath, same voice. He crashed into room 6, slamming the door. On the baby monitor, breathing filled the room, Rick's own breathing, but distorted. Someone tried the doorknob. "Let me in," said Rick's voice. "You're the copy. I'm real. Let me in." He backed away, shaking. The door burst open. Mrs. Weller stood there. Behind her, one Rick. "Thank God," she whispered. "You locked the creature back inside." Rick nodded. She didn't notice the tiny wet handprint on his sleeve. Or the way his shadow twitched unnaturally. Or the crooked smile he tried to hide as he whispered. "Room 6 is ready again." Third story. When the cartel's safe house burned down, 3 people were confirmed inside. A drug dealer. A corrupt cop. And a hitman hired to kill them both. Only one charred body was ever recovered. But every survivor now receives the same call at 2:44 a.m. every night. A rasping, burnt voice whispers. "There were 3 of us. Which one did you bury?" And by the end of each call, you can hear your own heartbeat in the background, slowing. Rehan wasn't a big-time dealer, just a street-level supplier who wanted out. But his last shipment vanished, leaving a dead courier behind and the cartel's wrath squarely on his head. Detective Cole was supposed to arrest him, but instead offered a deal under the table. "Pay me half your cut, and I'll erase your name from the system." The negotiation happened at an abandoned motel on Route 9, a place locals swore was cursed, its walls blackened, floors sticky with old blood, and shadows that moved even when the lights were off. They didn't know that a hitman, Vex, had been hired to kill both of them. Vex, silent, patient, and precise, never missed. That night, all 3 entered the motel. Only 2 walked out. Minutes later, the building erupted in flames. Everyone assumed Vex had died. But they were wrong. A week later, Rehan woke drenched in sweat. His phone vibrated violently. 2:44 a.m. Unknown number. He answered. The voice on the other side was wet, crackling, half-rotten. "Why did you run? We weren't finished." Then came the soft sound of skin tearing, like someone stretching flesh over bone. Rehan froze. His hands shook. The line went dead. 2 hours later, Cole called. "Rehan, did you get a call last night?" Rehan's blood ran cold. "You too?" Cole whispered. It said my name. And it sounded like it was chewing on my throat while it spoke." Cole met Rehan in the police archives the next night, pale and trembling. "Someone left this in my locker," he whispered, sliding a USB forward. It was surveillance footage from the burned motel. They watched as a figure in black, Vex, entered the room, gun raised. Bullets were fired. Both men fell. But the bullets passed through their bodies like smoke, leaving faint, glowing burns where the rounds should have struck. Rehan whispered. "That didn't happen." Cole nodded. "We were alive. He never touched us." But Vex turned slowly toward the camera, his head tilting unnaturally, eyes bleeding black. It was as if he knew they'd watch. It was as if he had waited for this moment. The next night, Rehan heard knocks on his apartment door. 3 knocks. Slow. Measured. He opened it. The door frame was carved with letters, still smoldering. "Pay what you owe." He ran to Cole's house, panic rising. But Cole wasn't home. His window shattered inward. Glass littered the floor. On Cole's pillow lay a warm bullet. And on the wall, written in soot. "One down." Then Rehan's phone rang by itself. 2:44 a.m. The burnt, wet voice whispered. "I shot 2 of you that night, but only 1 body burned." Rehan dug into police records of the motel fire. The body recovered wasn't Vex. It wasn't even an adult. It was a child, reported missing days earlier. Rehan slammed the files shut, cold realization hitting him. Vex never burned. He never died. Something else had been burned, something that now hungered for revenge. Rehan returned to the motel ruins. Ash crunched under his shoes. Footsteps. Wet. Dragging. From behind a collapsed doorway, a figure emerged. Skin charred and hanging in strips. Cloth fused to flesh. Eyes black holes leaking smoke. The burned man pointed at Rehan. He paid the shooter to kill me. You stood there. You watched me burn. Rehan stumbled back, trembling. I didn't know. The burned man interrupted. The shooter misses once in his career, and you were lucky he missed you. That night. A gunshot echoed. The burned man jerked. Behind him, Vex. Alive. Unburned. Calm. You stole from the cartel, Vex said quietly. Cole betrayed both of us. But he didn't hire me. Rehan stammered. Then, who did? Vex smiled, cold and empty. The man you thought died. He never was human. The burned man rose fully, bones cracking, skin tightening as though the fire had never touched him, and whispered. All I ever needed, was your fear, Rehan. Vex vanished into smoke. The burned man lunged. Rehan's last vision, the cracked screen of his phone. 2:44 a.m.